डिसेबिलिटी सेक्टर के साथ अपडेटेड रहने के लिए आज ही सब्सक्राइब करें रेडियो उड़ान का यूट्यूब चैनल और प्रेस करें बेल आइकन।
अगर चोट आसानी से लगे तो मदद भी आसानी से मिलनी चाहिए। इसलिए अब से सैवलॉन की बोतल आती है नेत्रहीन सहायक ब्रेल मार्किंग के साथ।
जी दोस्तों, नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल। मैं दानिश महाजन एक बार फिर से आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूं। आज संडे है और संडे को हम बात करते हैं एक स्पेशल गेस्ट से, जहां फिर हम डिस्कशन करते हैं डिसेबिलिटी से रिलेटेड तमाम इश्यूज पर। आज हम एक मुलाकात करने जा रहे हैं एक बहुत ही खास पर्सनैलिटी के साथ। आज जो हमारे गेस्ट हैं वो कॉमेडियन है। ही इज पार्शली ब्लाइंड and the way I have researched, I found him a first visually impaired comedian. Without any doubt, we will discuss that. And today's show is going to be very funny because he's not very good with Hindi and I'm not very good with English. So that's a great combination. Let's see how it goes. So आज के जो हमारे गेस्ट हैं संदीप राव जी। संदीप राव बेंगलोर से हैं, पार्शली ब्लाइंड हैं और बहुत फैसिनेटिंग जर्नी है इनकी। आप YouTube पर इनकी वीडियो देख सकते हैं, आप इनकी कॉमेडी सुन सकते हैं। ही इज स्टैंड अप कॉमेडियन। सो वी विल डिस्कस अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स अबाउट हिज लाइफ। वेलकम टू रेडियो उड़ान संदीप जी। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर वैल्यूएबल टाइमिंग।
Danish, thank you so much for having me on your show. And just as a disclaimer, I think your English is way better than my Hindi, so that's not even a competition. I can't even
that I just have practiced during the course of this show. You will get to know about my English.
No, I think it's quite perfect. We've spoken already and I think it's quite perfect, but thank you for having me on the show.
So Sandeep ji, it's proud to have you in our show. So first we want to know about your disability. When did you get blind, and about your childhood?
Right. So I lost my central vision overnight when I was around 8.5 years old. It was due to a condition called juvenile macular degeneration, which was then later diagnosed as Stargardt's disease, basically where the central vision gets damaged more significantly. But in my case, I have no central vision, but I've left with a little bit of peripheral vision in both eyes. And this happened when, as I said, when I was around 8.5. And I, was in the third standard then. So it was pretty much looking back, I'd say, I can't really remember being able to see before that. And I think that's maybe a good thing. But I think pretty much I just tried to live on as what children try to do, just try to fit in and try to play all the games and the sports that were, I had opportunity to play, and try to just be another child. And that was pretty much what I did. I would try to be naughty. I think I was quite successful being naughty. I would be a spoiled brat. I would try to be, a good kid when I needed something, but automatically then turn into a bad kid when I got what I wanted. So I think, I don't think the disability prevented me in many ways at a very young age, especially the first 3-4 years. But it was also filled with a little bit of confusion, I feel, because how do you describe a situation like blindness to a child, right? And I don't know what the emotions went like back then, but I think there was definitely a little bit of fear going, hey, is this, it's been 6 months, I'm still not able to see. So I think the permanent nature of the condition really didn't sink in till much later. And there was a little bit of like, I can't do things that I could do. Well, I could try, but I didn't succeed at it. So that kind of back and forth, up and down emotional roller coaster was there. But now as an adult, if I look back, I can put more adult words to it, like self-doubt, acceptance, and all these things, which I don't think children care about too much. And I think that's the problem of growing up.
So people says, I spoke to some people, they say Sandeep is not partially blind. I asked them, How? They said when he got a check, he can see completely. Is it true?
I don't know. I mean, first of all, I can definitely tell the difference between a blank check and something on it. So,
So they say he can see the check from, from 100, that from 5 kilometer.
I mean, I wouldn't say, no, definitely not from 5 kilometers, but I can smell a check from 5 kilometers.
That's it. So, Sandeep ji, were your family aware of the disability? Or what about your education? Did you complete your education from the mainstream education or did you join the special school?
Well, the family was the most supportive in my early life and till date in many ways, right? Because I always tell people, you might call my story inspirational, but I really think what they went through was quite a journey of remarkable strength and remarkable, support, because this was 1990, 1991 India, where technology was not where it is now. The support system was not where it is now. Even acceptance wasn't there, back then. And I think my mum really took it upon herself to make sure that I get through education and the normal schooling and university system. She pretty much took over, reading out all my textbooks, making sure I went to a school which had a smaller number of students, so I would get more attention from the teaching staff. She would engage me in extracurriculars to make sure that I did it all. So I had to play a sport, even though I couldn't play many of the contact sports or fast-moving object sports. So then I took up golf. Came last in a tournament, which was still great because I got a chance to play. I played a musical instrument. I learned to swim. I actually went and tried to ride horses, and I faced the right way on the horse, which was a big achievement. And I got through schooling in Bangalore. Till the 12th, I was in Bangalore. And then I, in fact, applied for university abroad, but my visa got rejected because, honestly, this was the reason. They said I was a potential terrorist. And I said, this will be a first. India's only visually impaired comedian has nothing on India's only blind terrorist. So so I got rejected, but took up a course for a year in Bangalore in Bachelor of Commerce, BCom. But then my mom was so keen that I go out of here because she said, it's not about India being a bad place. It's just that the support system and the educational infrastructure for someone with a disability is a lot more equipped and a lot more established in a country like, say, the UK or like the US. So I first went for my undergraduation to the University of Wales in Swansea. I went there in 2002 for a course in international relations. Spent about 3 semesters there and realized that disability has nothing to do with academics, because though I was blind, I was a terrible student who had no discipline. So very, very quickly, my mom realized he has complete independence and no discipline. We don't know how to keep a check on him. So fortunately, after 1.5 years, my visa came through for the US university. And that was a much smaller, much more interactive setup. So at least I got through my education there in a course in major in sociology, and graduated in 2006. So, I got through a normal education, but I was not a good student for sure. I did everything except being a good student.
Right. So when did you get to know that, or when did you pick that you have to be a comedian?
Strangely, I've always found laughter a great way to diffuse situations, to make them less tense, to make people accept you. Because, if you make them laugh, you take away that little inhibition, you take away that little sense of, oh, what's wrong with this guy. But the problem with that is you can either be really, really funny, where you're the go-to funny guy, where you're the clown, and then people always treat you like that, or you make it a business. And that's what I've done now. But the opportunity for stand-up comedy was almost zero back in 2007-8 when I came back. 2007 I came back to India. But 2009 there was a chance to get on stage through a competition in Bangalore through Vidas, who had this thing called the Open Mic Amateur Nights. And of course, first thing I want to say is because our country is so diverse with language, this was in English. And I know there are TV shows, especially in Hindi and Kannada, which in regional languages, which have been around for many years, but it's more mimicry. It's more to do with the shows like the Laughter Challenge, the Laughter Circus. And this was different because English stand-up is inspired from the West, from a 60 to 80-year business in the US to a little younger in the UK. And it's more a spoken word. It's about talking about real issues. It's about making fun of real stuff in society. And that was something new for India back in 2008 and 9. So getting up on stage was very different from making your friends laugh, because you can make your friends laugh with any joke from the internet, any joke which you get. It doesn't have to be your own. But when you get into stand-up comedy as a business, is the biggest thing I found is and something I've stuck to, is to be original, to be honest, and talk about things that matter to you, but constantly keeping it funny. So those elements are important, and getting good at doing that constantly took time. Still takes time, and it's been 10 years, now 11 years since I got on stage for the first time. And when I did it for the first time, I just wanted to keep doing it, doing live shows, never really thought about the business of it, how to get famous, how to get management, how to get on Netflix. None of those things even occurred to me. But it's been tremendously enjoyable, with a lot of ups and a lot of downs and a lot of
you bagged any prize in that competition?
There was no real physical prize, but if you won an evening, you get 2 minutes. If you win that, then you get 5 minutes. So I won one of the nights. I think the third or fourth attempt, I won one of the nights. Then the fifth time I got 5 minutes, and then I did terribly badly. So I went back to 2 minutes.
So from there, your journey began.
Yeah, I would say that's when the competition didn't come back. But then I'm like, I can't do this once in 6 months. I can't wait once in 6 months to get on stage. So I, in fact, met a guy who was traveling on work to India from Accenture. He's a American, Indian born in America, NRI guy coming here. He was here for 6 months on a project. So he said, hey man, the way it works is we set up a comedy night, and then people come, and then we do it regularly, repeatedly. So we get better, we get more stage time, we get more confident, we get better at the art of being joke tellers, writing jokes, consistently improving the art. Because that's one thing I will say to anyone listening now, is you can't learn comedy through a course. You only learn through getting up on stage, making those mistakes, learning from those pockets where people are just looking at you going, what the hell are you saying? To realizing, okay, now that didn't work. Let me get better at saying it better and writing a better joke. So we started this first comedy night in Bangalore in July 2010 called Snap Comedy Nights. And that took place every alternate Sunday, so every second and fourth Sunday. And that went on for almost 3 years, I think. So we did that to then starting another night called the Urban Solace LOL Nights, which till last year was running every Wednesday. And then we started another night, and then more people showed interest, and then slowly we built a group called the Polished Bottoms, which was this guy Sanjay who started the comedy scene with me, and Praveen Kumar who joined the group. Then slowly expanded to more people. In 2013-14, we got Kenny Sebastian, Kanan Gill on the group, and we had a couple of other local artists. Comedy show called TITS, the IT show. The abbreviation, of course, I don't know if you want to say it on radio. To then it became, now I think before the lockdown, there were almost, I don't know the number exactly, but 9,500 people trying stand-up in Bangalore. There were about 40 comedy nights a month. So it's just organically, I never created a scene to control how many shows and me being the center of it, but it just organically expanded into this comedy scene where more players came in, more performers came in. We had comedy festivals which came to Bangalore, which were the Bangalore Comedy Festival. Then there was a comedy club that was set up. So over the course of 11 years, it's been a tremendous growth for Bangalore and the comedy scene here,
Did you face any challenge due to your disability in this field?
Not really. I think I wouldn't say a challenge. I think the biggest challenge I think was self-imposed, because I didn't talk about my eye condition from in the beginning. See, because main thing is stand-up comedy, in particularly the language of English, was so new, and now to convince a bar owner or a cafe owner that let's have a night where we get 3-4 guys and girls to hold a mic and crack jokes that they've written, which we can not show you. We can't obviously show a script to the owner of the bar, so they have to just trust us. Now we get people who are like, what is going on? We could have easily had a DJ or a free happy hours or something. Now people are talking, and they're going to talk about stuff which is uncomfortable for many of us, maybe politics, religion, could be sex, whatever. And now on top of that, if I bring in disability, how will people respond? So almost first 3-4 years, I didn't talk about it because I was uncomfortable. But then slowly, I said, if I ignore this, I am uncomfortable, right? I'm tiptoeing around something which is real in my life. Because at that point, it was almost 22 years I had my disability. I'm like, why am I, if you've had something in your life for 22 years, whether it's an insecurity, whether it's a sense of who you are, why would you ignore it? It's a part and parcel of what's in my life. It's a relationship that I've had with my eyes, and it's stupid not to talk about it, because that's what makes, one of the things that makes me unique. And by not doing it, I'm lying to myself. And then as a result, being uncomfortable, going, oh my God, what if they can tell? What if I trip? What if something happens? Or what if I miss the mic? So then slowly started talking about it, and you got to do it also in a funny way, right? At the end of the day, I'm there to entertain them, make them laugh. So if it becomes a TED talk where I'm like, then I did this, and people are like, dude, this guy's damn boring. So that was the challenge, to make it honest, to make it a part of who I am in many ways, talk about the filter through which I see the world, and keep it funny. So that's, I would say, the initial challenge. But I'd say 8 years in, since 2013, since I started talking about it, it's become a part of my act. It's become a part of the way I look at writing jokes. And in many ways, it's also become an extension of material, because sometimes I don't have to write jokes, because just by virtue of what people tell me, because when they find out about my blindness, or they find out, or the way they interact with me, or the way some stories just develop when you travel, I don't have to write jokes, because the stories in my life themselves, as a result, are funny to do on stage.
Absolutely. I heard you have paid a heavy price for your comedy. You proposed 100 and odd girls. Nobody took you serious due to your comedy.
Yeah, I think sometimes the comedy is more of a disability than my eyesight. No one takes me seriously.
Okay. So tell us 2-3 funny incidents with regard to your disability.
Wow. Okay. Now, if I had to plan for this, it's like a show. So I think there are so many instances which I think a lot of your visually impaired blindness listeners can relate to, especially in an environment like India, where whether it's family not believing you, or them saying things which are like really, really silly. Like, if he can't see, how will he study? Or if he can't see, how will he get married? I think we've all got some common stories like that. I think one, I don't know if it's, radio friendly, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can cut it out later, Danish, if you think it's too inappropriate. I think one really vivid story is in school, when I was, I think, in the 6th or 7th standard. So after class would let go, we would go and hang out in the corridor, which would be a common corridor for like 5-6 sections. And that would be, 6th standard, 7th standard, let's say senior school corridor. And I went to the railing of the balcony just to go look over the playing field. And there was a person standing there. And I thought, oh my God, this is a friend. We haven't, let's... One of my friends who I'm like, hey dude, how's it going? And how was class? And I put my arm over him, and I was just sitting and talking, and realized that it was not even the same guy. In fact, it was a girl, and she's going, excuse me, can I help you? And I was like, whoops. And it was genuine embarrassment, right? I didn't mean to, and she also understood, but she didn't know till later that I couldn't see. She just thought I was this extra friendly guy who wanted to flirt with her, and I obviously was terrified of women and terrified of flirting, and so it was a bit of an embarrassing moment. I don't know about funny incidents, but there were a lot of confusing incidents which I then make them funny.
I ask you a situation. I give you a situation.
Yeah.
A lot of partial blind say that our life is little more difficult than a blind. People knows he's blind, so they know how to react. But in the case of partial blind, it is very difficult to tell people, because neither you belong to a blind community nor you belong to the sighted community. So even if you are traveling, it is very difficult to convince conductors, see, I have a pass, man, I am a partially blind. Does that happen, or is it the same case with you as well?
I think it's from both ends, right? One is from how a visually impaired person perceives and looks at him or herself. Because I think the problem is that we don't know which group we fit into, right? Because the people, one part of us wants to see and we can see a little bit, and the other part so we don't want to be defined by either group. So I think it's one of those things where we're torn between two worlds of blindness and seeing. So I feel that sometimes is an issue for me. I'm like, oh, but if I don't want to get a white cane and a guide dog or sit in a wheelchair. But other part of me is like, but I need some help. So you got to explain to people, and that's the problem. I think that's what's happened many times, right? Like even people around you are a little uncomfortable because they don't want to say. It's easy, as you said, to say this person's blind, and even the blind person's like, yeah, I'm blind. But many people don't use the word visually impaired. Many people don't know the word visually impaired. They don't know what it stands for. And explaining, because how much do you explain every time? They're like, can you, Sandeep, you define how much you can see? I'm like, dude, how do I define something I can't see in the first place, right? So sometimes that becomes awkward. People offer a shake hand and then you completely ignore it, intentionally, by accident sometimes. But it really...
Funny incident, as you mentioned about the names, a lot of people do not call us with the name, with the visually...
And some people overdo it, right?
Yeah,
some people are like, oh, no, that's the wrong way to call him.
One friend of mine was telling me that I was traveling and one person came and said, how are you, Surdas ji? And he replied, I'm very fine. I'm fine, thank you, Tulsidas ji. So he said, my name is not Tulsidas. He said, my name is not Surdas. He said, you are blind. And he said, yes, but you are sighted. And Tulsidas are sighted. So these incidents goes...
I think there are a lot of them which come from just a comedy of errors where we don't know. A lot of the times it's confusion. A lot of people sometimes when they find out that you can't see will talk louder, which is ridiculous, right? Yeah. they start speaking louder and slower.
People would ask you, do you take bath of your own?
Yeah, absolutely. But the funniest is when they come closer and talk louder and slower. I'm like, listen, which part of... Oh my God.
So three questions, Sandeep ji. One, I heard somewhere you claim that you are the first visually impaired and you were counted from the community itself. Another blind person said, no, you are not the first one. How are you, how can you claim that? So,
right.
Is really that incident happen? If it happens, did it hurt you?
So first of all, it didn't happen in the way it did, or the way many might think it happened. And let me just start by saying I never called myself India's first visually impaired person, first blind comedian. I never said it as a serious statement. I never said it as something to be like an award or a celebration. I in fact did it as a joke to make people okay with the fact that I'm going to be talking as a blind person, right? Because in fact, the line was, I was recently voted as India's funniest partially blind English-speaking comedian who drinks whiskey and wears tight jeans. And that in itself is so ridiculous because it's such a small niche, whiskey drinking, tight jean wearing, English speaking, visually impaired. And people would never, they were like, oh really, in that category you came number one? I'm like, oh my God, the joke is totally lost on you. And secondly, before I get to the story of what you asked me whether it happened or not, is I've never called myself the blind comedian. I just talk about the fact that I'm a comedian who has different aspects to his life. I'm from Bangalore. I'm from a Kannadiga background. I'm married. I'm a younger brother to an elder sister. I talk about my parents. I talk about my family. I talk about, and the filter which I look at life through is my visual impairment. As I said, I can't ignore it. I can't pretend it doesn't exist. But I can never claim to be the brand ambassador for blindness, because it's not fair. Because blindness for all of us is one aspect of our life. Some of it is more severe, for some people it's less. But by me going and saying I'm a brand ambassador for the blind in India, it's unfair for the others, because then I almost take away their voice. So coming to this is, in fact, what I did was I put up a meme where the social media person helping me saying, Sandeep, it's a funny meme. Let's put it out there, which basically says, as India's only blind comedian, it's great because I can't see my competition, right? So one person commented saying, how dare you say this? In not exact words, like, how could you say this? Because you aren't blind, you're visually impaired. In fact, there's a person called Nidhi Goyal who's completely blind, and if anyone has the right to call themselves India's only blind comedian, it's her, not you. I was like, my God, because I know Nidhi, and we've actually done a podcast together recently, and I in fact brought this up with her, and I introduced her as saying the lady who dethroned me as India's blind comedian. She laughed, we had a good laugh, and she had no issue with it. I don't know who this person was. I don't know whether it's a common friend or it's a stranger who just decided to get offended on behalf of Nidhi. But that's the kind of society we live in, where the people who, you and me, and I think the listeners who are visually impaired or blind, are not going to take offense, because when we have real issues and real problems in life, we don't worry about all these silly things. It's the problem with people who want to create problems when they have nothing to look forward to in life. And the people who want to get offended on behalf of someone because they think they are these advocates for victims and the social justice warriors. These are the problems, right? Because when you really have enough problems in life, you want to just focus on getting over them and moving on. When you have nothing wrong with you, you create issues to play the victim card. And that's the problem right now with social media, with the time and age we live in, is people don't really have major issues. They want to make up stuff so they look like the victim. They're like, oh, look at my life, it's tough. They have to play a victim card because then they get attention.
Sandeep ji, as we were speaking and we got to know you did not have any agency, you did not have any PR team. So let me tell you frankly, it's not that because I'm interviewing you, but the research I have done on you, and I found you have done extremely well in this field. The way you are doing your job, but at the same time you are awaiting thousands and thousands of people. So you are playing your role, you are doing your professional, but at the same time you are giving hope to millions. There might be some people in your show, their family member or relatives may have blindness or other form of disability, and they can get an idea. Yes, Sandeep, we saw a person who's doing comedy, and you can study, you can go to school, you can do. So in a way, you are also wearing millions of people. Does that give you satisfaction or internal happiness?
First of all, thanks, Danish. That's really kind for you to say that. And I think, just hearing this, it does now make me feel like I've done something. Because, as I said before we got on this interview, is that I don't want to, label myself as a blind comedian, because I think blindness is one part of a person's life. And I think what happens is we label as the blind comedian or the deaf comedian or the amputee artist. What happens is people only focus on that one thing that you can't do or that one thing you've lost, when you might have so many more things you can offer. So, the thing with comedy is that I feel that in today's day and age is that people want a quick fix. So they'll say the best blind boxer, and then every talk show, every news show will keep featuring you for 6 months, and then you're just gone.
Right.
And you don't really focus on what your ability is, because you're getting so much attention for maybe the right or wrong thing. It's not my place to comment. But then, you suddenly are like, wait a second, I'm the best, I'm the blind boxer. But you haven't spent enough time becoming a better boxer. You're just focusing on being a blind boxer. So what I've told myself from day one is get to a place where you're a good comedian. It'll take time. You might not have the right agency, the right management, but if your comedy gets good, which takes time, and then you do what you want to, which I want to do live shows. So I traveled to festivals, which were fortunate enough I was fortunate enough to be invited by festivals in Singapore, in Philippines, in Malaysia. I went to apply to a festival in Edinburgh, which is the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I was invited for a Desi comedy festival in LA, and I did my shows because I love performing live. And I want to talk about my stories growing up here, living abroad, and I want to share it with people around the world, whether they're disabled or not. But as a result, if someone does hear my story and say, hey, this guy was in a comedy club from Bangalore. He came all the way to Scotland and performed, and he shared his story. He had a few drinks with us after. We went out, had dinner. We were normal people having normal conversations. He had a few things in his life which were different. I had a few things in my life which are different, which is maybe the disability. Maybe I grew up in a household where my parents were divorced, where my parents were abusive. But we all have things in our lives which make us different. At the same time, we have things which we can unite over. And if we can do that, and if I can show people that blind people are no different, except they might need some additional help with crossing the road, or to be read out a menu to, or to assist in certain ways so their safety is taken care of, and also their ability is give them an infrastructure for their ability, then if I can do that by setting an example through the way I live, then I've done more than my job. I enjoy doing the job, and I can live life.
Sandeepji, so now tell us, how did you build your network? Like, you did not have any official PR or any advertisement agency alongside you. How did you manage to get shows? You have done nationally and internationally more than 600 shows, if I'm not wrong. So how did you manage, and what would you suggest to the other disabled artists?
I think first of all, get good at what you do. Because if you, as I said, if you use that blind card to get on stage, or any card, right? I'm not limiting it to blind card. It could be dyslexic. It could be, I'm a woman comedian, so I need to get on stage. Anything, but specifically since we're talking now about disability, and since I know about visual impairment and blindness, if you use only that card and not get good at doing what you do, no one's going to give you. They might give you 2 chances, 3 chances, and people might laugh out of pity because, oh my God, he's a blind guy. If you don't get good, no one's going to give you more than 1 or 2 chances. So get good, get so good that people will be like, man, that guy was so funny. And maybe they'll say that blind guy was so funny, but that's none of your business what they say, right? You've only gone there to do your job. So get really good at what you do. Then I really strongly believe in the word of mouth, because in this world where everyone is shouting to be heard on social media, everyone is promoting their posts, you have to do it. You have to be smart about being present on the internet. So you have to have a website, you have to have good information, and you have to have correct information about you. How to be reached, how to reach out to people. You have to send the relevant people emails. You have to know what's happening in the business. Where are the best clubs? Where are the best festivals? What are the best rooms to perform? So you have to have knowledge about what you're doing. In stand-up comedy, you have to know which are the countries which are good for comedy, especially if you're an English-speaking comedian. What are the international festivals to apply for? Who to write to? How to write to them? How to make sure your jokes are relevant across the board, from Bangalore to Delhi, from Goa to Gurgaon to, I've done shows even in Chandigarh, I've done shows in Zirakpur, I've done shows in Dublin, Ireland. So how do you write and how do you make people there laugh? Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We grow up in different environments, but a joke which works, and that's the beauty, if a joke in Bangalore works as well in San Francisco or Germany or in wherever, right? That's the pleasure of writing a good joke, because then you're making people connect across countries, and that's a really nice feeling. So if you want me to summarize it in 3 points, I think get really good at what you do, know what your business involves in the sense and who to get in touch with, how to get in touch with them, and make sure that you're consistently being visible amongst your other comedians, amongst the people who matter in the business.
Did you have any professional training? Or did you have any...
No, not at all. I learned, and that's the best part, right? It took it's taking long, and I'm still not there. I'm still learning, but I've definitely, every year has been progress with a little bit of backstepping as well, because it's not about, and I'm going to use this quote, I don't know who said it, right? The only thing that can be consistent is mediocrity. Good things and great things take a lot of trial and a lot of error, and you have to do that, because you might take one step forward and say, okay, this year the way I speak on stage is improved, but then you might hit a hurdle saying, oh my God, I'm not able to write as well. Or you might say, I'm speaking well, but my timing is too fast. I'm eating up my words. But then you might say, but I'm feeling a lot better on stage. I'm more natural. I'm more comfortable. I'm able to capture their attention. So there's so many elements to performing that it's not just the joke. That's a very important part, but it's how you say it. And how you say it, sometimes you can have the best joke, but if you say it badly, no one's going to listen to you. So there's so many things which come together to make a performer stand out. And I think I forgot your question. I talk too much.
So, Sandeep, tell me.
Yeah.
We were talking about your interview, and we were discussing. Sometimes people get offended the word you use. Sometimes, as you were discussing with me, whether it is gay, or sometimes most of the stand-up comedian uses, some abuses to relate some incidents.
Yeah.
So tell us about, is it necessary to use that, and what is the concept behind it?
The problem with English comedians in India is that they sometimes are very inspired by people like American comedians, or English comedians, or black comedians, or white comedians. Now the thing is that if you take a blanket approach to comedy and say, hey, but because Dave Chappelle curses, I'm going to curse, it's stupid, because then you're just, I pardon the pun, but you're following them blindly, right? The thing is that you have to figure out what works for you. Now, I use strong language, I curse on stage. But earlier on, I used to just simply do it without meaning, right? I'm just like, oh, you can say the F word, you can say it and no one's going to punish you for it. I mean, it was stupid, because at the end of the day, a stand-up comedian is a person who uses his or her words to communicate something funny. Now, if you're wasting your words by just, because sometimes even I who've heard the worst words and insults in conversation, because friends talk like that, people who I studied with spoke like that. But if I'm in an audience and I see a young comedian who's just saying too many F words for no reason, I'm like, you're wasting my time, you've lost my attention. Get to the idea. What are you talking about? What is funny about using 10 F words back to back without a reason, right? So I was not that this thing. I wasn't cursing that much on stage, but it's definitely less now, because
But nowadays, even Hindi stand-up comedians are more frequently using these words.
See, that's the problem, right? Like using an MC or a BC now has become the cool thing to do, because if you don't have a good joke and you drop a BC, people are like, oh, it's funny. Because think about it, right? However much as Indians we curse, in a public get-together, a person's getting on stage and using a bad word. That in itself is a novel idea. So a lot of people are still there going, oh my God, he said it on a mic and no one scolded him. No one penalized him. But if we want to grow up as adults, we need to get over that. Now, as a comedian, my point is to make you laugh. And if I'm angry and I'm genuinely like, if I'm angry with this vegan girl who said something obnoxious, I will curse because it makes my point more impactful. I will say this effing idiot, which will be more impactful because as a delivery, it brings out my frustration more. Now, when it comes to, does a bad word make a joke dirty? Not at all. In fact, I've heard some comedians in India who they speak Shuddh Hindi or Kannada or perfect, clean English, not even one word, not even, the S word or the B word, no F word, nothing. But their jokes are so dirty because they talk about something, I wouldn't say dirty in the context of adult dirty. I'm talking about even things like, then I went to the toilet and I did this. I'm like, oh my God, it's making me feel nauseous, Yeah. So my point is, it's a personal choice. If you want to use it. But as a professional, you got to understand what you're saying is people are paying for that and you're getting paid for that. Make sure that you use your words wisely, not as a Guruji or a saint or public speaker, but just because you're there to tell jokes, you're there to communicate ideas, maybe thoughts, maybe opinions. Say it in the best way that you can say it.
Right. Who is your favorite comedian?
Oh, wow. There's this really funny guy from Bangalore called Sandeep Rao. I don't know, you should check him out.
Except Sandeep Rao.
No, I really like, there's a really funny comedian called Dave Chappelle. He's from Ohio in America, and he's now just reached the pinnacle of his game. Someone who I really loved watching growing up was Robin Williams. So I think these two guys really are fantastic, and Robin Williams is no longer.
Have you met them?
Fantastic. No, Robin Williams is dead, so I hope I don't meet him anytime soon, because that'll be really creepy. No, I didn't meet him when he was alive, and I'm sadly not in a position to meet him now, and I haven't met Dave Chappelle either.
So what are your hobbies?
Strange question. I was just thinking about that before this, and I don't really have hobbies besides looking forward to my evening drink. I used to, as I said, I used to play a couple of musical instruments. I don't really have a hobby per se, but I love listening to audiobooks and audio content. So, it's really maybe not the best way to spend time, but I listen to books. So I read about 6 to 7 hours a day. And I really like, I would say this is my best hobby. I like thinking about doing things. I love dreaming about doing. So I spend a lot of time just daydreaming, going, I should probably do this, but I never get to doing it. So I'd say dreaming and thinking about doing things is a big hobby. And I like the idea of writing, but I get distracted very easily, because I think to myself, oh my God, who's going to edit this? And I've written so much now, and then I get scared and I stop doing it.
So, in India, people are so scared of English. Even so were you good in English before you started doing comedy, or did you develop later on? Or the follow-up question is, when you had decided that now you want to be a professional comedian, it's little risky, right? As you earlier said, even for a English comedian. So did your family advise, what are you doing, why can't you do any government job and stuff, or were you very clear, now I have picked it, I have to sustain and maintain it?
I just wanted to do it. So it was not like a conscious effort, like this is my objective and I have to achieve it. I just really loved doing it. My family supported me through it, fortunately. And in all honesty, I don't think I'm qualified enough for a government job. So I'm glad that I didn't get in there. I don't think I'm qualified for any job, but I just really loved doing this. And to speak about the English thing, right? I've always grown up in an English medium school, and at home, even though with some family members, I speak in Kannada. I've always thought in English. I always think in English. So automatically it's easier as a language option, because all my schooling and my university was in English. Am I a good English student? Grammatically, I'm very bad with the whole English, the rules of English, especially when it comes to writing, and spellings are terrible because I've never read actual text, right? I've never read the English language. So you ask me to spell words, I'm terrible at it. So that's why probably another reason I don't write as much. But speaking the language, right? Because there's a difference between what happens is, because I lived abroad, people think I spoke and I speak English well. See, you get influenced, right? And automatically people expect you to put on an American or a British accent. And there's a difference between speaking English well and speaking English with an accent. Because a lot of Americans might have an accent, but their English is terrible because they don't have good word selection. But even in America, there are good comedians who speak beautifully, and it's not the accent. The accent is just something which you can always mimic an accent. You can learn how to do a good American, Australian, English, South African accent. But the thing is, speaking English well, I became aware of the words, of how to pronounce the words, all that after doing stand-up comedy, because that's very important for me. When I listen to good English, either through an audiobook or a podcast, if someone mispronounces a word, it's a bit of like a sour taste in your mouth, because if you know the good pronunciation, you should definitely use it. Like, why do so many people get pleasure in listening to Shashi Tharoor, right? It's not the accent alone, but his word selection is so marvelous that you're like, it sounds nice as in addition to the joke, if you can sound nice speaking the language, even, I don't speak Hindi, but listening to a good Hindi speaker or like Delhi Hindi or Punjabi or even good Urdu, I might not know the words, but it just sounds really nice on the ears, So I became more aware of the words I use, how to pronounce them. And because I listen to so many audiobooks and so many audio narrators, automatically that started influencing the way I speak.
From the disability perspective, if I may ask, what are the 3-4 things that you are really worried and you want it to be changed?
In India at large?
Yes.
I think first of all, we need to do this thing where we don't treat disabled people like unworthy people. I think we have to stop focusing on their lack of ability and focus on what they can do. So we shouldn't say, my God, how do we help the deaf, and let's teach them. So give them the tools. Now that's all you can do. Give them the infrastructure, give them the tools, and then give them access. Because once you do that, because once you give the person the things that they need to work in life and to succeed in life or to do anything to survive, then it depends on them. And I think a lot of disabled people have the instinct to survive. So first things first is don't focus on, my God, they can't do this, they can't survive, they can't this thing. Give them the tools and then it's up to them. I think that is also something which leads to the next point, where you have to educate people with awareness. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to ask a person. It's okay to understand what that person's needs are, as opposed to ignoring it and assuming that you know. And I think finally is you can't look at disability as a countrywide problem, because it's too individual, right? You and I are so different, because we might have a common word that people might use to describe us, which is visually impaired. But you as Danish and me as Sandeep have so many different needs. We have so many different things we can bring to the table. We have so many different insecurities. So I think it needs to be approached on a much more granular, individual level. And I think the biggest thing is to give people a sense of dignity, which we don't give for many groups in this country.
Sandeep ji, if you have to compare, since you have traveled a lot in India, outside India, particularly in the developed countries, what sort of differences you have found? Is there any attitudinal change, or what is the difference between India and abroad with regard to this?
I think on a basic level, they give you certain tools to make you independent. So if I was living alone in America, say in a city like, say even Chicago or wherever, right? There are agencies that give you training to make you independent so you can navigate. There are transport systems where there are certain things in place, like there is probably braille, there's probably wheelchair access, there's probably there are certain things which are given by the municipality or the government. And then people are aware as well. So, if they see you with a cane and a guide dog, they'll know, okay, this is the level of blindness. So they see you in a wheelchair, they know this. And there's a sense of, they'll ask you, but they won't overdo it. So they're like, oh, hey, do you need any help there? And you're like, yeah, can you just help me with this? Or if they know. So I think people are willing to ask, and it's not and I think disability is not an uncomfortable conversation there. People here are worried when the person will walk into a glass door, and they're more worried will they spoil the evening. And because, America is in no ways perfect, and they have their own issues with race and with poverty and with social, economic thing. But people are willing, especially since we're talking about disability here, is that there are basic things in place for safety, there are basic things in place for dignity, and there are basic things which are provided for making you independent. Now beyond that, which I've experienced. Now beyond that, whether you do it or not is your problem. Right. And beyond that, whether people will discriminate based on the color of your skin or whether it's your gender, I don't know, and they probably will, because that's where the human beings are different and people can be that. And there'll be, of course, the one-off or the three-off people who will pass an insulting comment or something. But people, I was not discriminated, especially based on my blindness.
Right. So, what was the happiest moment of your life, or what was the touchiest moment of your life?
I think the happiest moment, I wouldn't call it the happiest moment, but a very nice moment is realizing that I'm not going to focus on what I've lost, but I'm going to work on what I have. What's the point of looking back going, I wish I can read a book, I wish I can play tennis, I wish I can drive. There's no point, right? I'm wasting my mind space thinking about things I can't do anymore. But now I can do things. I can talk, I can speak to people. I have the luxury of meeting new people every day. I have the ability to make people laugh, and I have the ability to empathize and understand people and have a perspective which is unique. So why can't I use that instead of like, oh, if I could go back and play golf, I could play better. No, I can't do it. Let me just make peace with it. Right. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the defining moment. And what happens is, if you're constantly trying to do things that you can't do anymore, then people start getting into your head. They're like, no, you should do this, I'll tell you. And why should I live for others, right? I can't make the world happy in any shape or form. But if I can do something which I enjoy doing and things that I'm able to do, then I can figure out my own strength, my own independence, and my own position in life when people can't push me over and say, we told you so. You stand on your own foundation that you've created, and you write your own story.
And touchiest moment?
Touchiest moment, I think every day it happens. Now, I think, that's the flip side to this is the touchy moment, right? When, you look back and you're like, I wish I could do this better. I wish I could see. Because there's these 4 things which I think you regret
that you cannot drive.
I really do regret. I love cars. I really love cars. But, I'll say something, Danish, because, I lived my almost 20 years with this blame, shame, guilt, and fear, where I feel because of you, I'm like this. I used to be ashamed of who I am. Not just my disability, but generally, in addition to my disability. I used to be guilty for the things I did and the things I said. And I used to be afraid of the future. But now I've turned the same 4 things into no more blame, no more shame, no more guilt, and I'm not afraid of the future.
What is the best performance you have given according to you till now? And 2 things. One, the best compliment you have ever got, and what is the worst compliment you have ever got?
Well, I'll tell you the worst compliment I ever got. A guy, I was doing a show, there was these bars in Bangalore called Extreme Sports Bar. Very chaotic setting. While we were performing, they're playing a football match on one screen, cricket match on the other screen, kabaddi match on another screen. So this guy didn't even hear my jokes. And he basically comes after the show, and I've done a thing for 30 minutes. And he said, do you have a good voice? I said, what? Which is okay, I suppose it's a compliment, but he didn't even hear me. And I think so I did like on similar lines. I think at a corporate show, someone said, "Sir, we loved your speech." I said, "It was not a speech. Speech is what Modi does. I don't give speeches." The best compliment I would say is it was I remember this. It wasn't a big show, but it really stands out. It was outside the small comedy club called the Comic Strip Live in Upper Manhattan, New York. It was a Saturday evening, and this lady and her father come up to me, and turns out the lady was a lawyer in this movie called Social Network, and she said it was a really good show. Then her father said, "Hey, young man, I've been a conductor on an orchestra. I was a conductor for an orchestra for many years, and I see you going to places, and I see you becoming a big thing and going places." And my most memorable show was 2013 January at this big show. It's a big auditorium in Bangalore called the Chowdaya Memorial. It's big because it's a big capacity. It's about 1,000 people. But it's also big because I've been going there for years for plays. Mom's taken me for music performances. She loves Hindustani classical, so I've seen like Hari Prasad Chaurasya, Pandit Jasraj. I've seen Zakir Hussain shows there. And when I was on that stage and I had people in the audience who were from my family, and it was a kick-ass performance from my end. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and say I got a standing ovation. It was a fantastic feeling.
Right. Now, what you want to do in your future? What is your dream that you want?
Just continue doing this and pick up new things every so often. So it's been 10 years since I've been doing stand-up. I mean, I'm happy where I've come from where I was, but I don't think I can ever be completely happy because I want to keep fighting and doing more work. And definitely, there's more I can do with life. But I don't know what it is, because sometimes people were like, you should get more fit, you should become more healthy, you should become more mindful, you should do more yoga, you should do more meditation, you should become a less angry person. I'm like, you do that if that makes you happy. I'm very happy with my imperfections, and that's the thing which I told you a few minutes back is I'm not going to worry about what other people say.
Right.
So if that's something I can work on, that'll be great. I want to become more independent of other people's criticism or other people's feedback or other people's thoughts on the way I should do things. So since 2009 I've been doing stand-up now professionally, and now I've started a podcast on Spotify which is called Life Gone Wrong, which I'd love to get you on, by the way, to get your story, because I've been talking on this episode. And I want to do things, discover new things that I can do well, and continue on this thing of not worrying about what I can't do. So I want to start exploring the idea of writing. I want to probably explore more physical things I can do, maybe, figure out how to be involved, with groups of people. Maybe we can, I want to get more physically active, maybe get back to running.
Has comedy played a role to impress Bobby?
Has comedy played a role to impress?
The wife.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think now it impressed her early on, but now she's sick of it. Because she's like, every joke is, you can't be funny all the time. And I use her as material. So I don't think she's very happy with that.
We all do that. We all do so.
Yeah. So I use her as because I can't say, women these days are so irritating, because women are like, you don't know us. But I'm like, my wife said something the other day. My wife wouldn't have said it, but I use her as a muse for other women.
I always tell my wife, see, when I was blind, we get different sort of proposals for the wedding. Some people comes up with the proposal of deaf girl to me. I'm completely blind and she's completely deaf. So I told them many a time, how can, you can think that how would we survive? I cannot see, she cannot listen or speak. So I cannot get married to mute and deaf girl. But my wife is low vision. So I told when I got, when I approached your family, and I was told you are partial blind. But after marriage, I got to know you are deaf and mute too.
Yeah, my wife is, she has no physical or, I wouldn't say mental disability, but I think she I don't know, I think she's definitely helped me a lot and taken a lot of crap from me. But I think sometimes, she's like, you don't listen to anything I say and you don't appreciate what I am. And I'm like, that's nothing to do with my blindness. I just think that, that's who I am and you talk too much,
Who is your role model?
Wow. Okay. That is, I think it's a mixture, because I think the support from my mom, but I think definitely my dad.
Right. One person you want to meet?
This is an interesting one, because I thought about Dave Chappelle, but I thought to myself, he's a comedian, he's a great comedian, but what would we talk about, right? Maybe just to chill and have a few drinks and dinner, maybe I can meet Dave Chappelle. But I don't want to be that guy who sits with him and says, so tell me how you write a joke, what is comedy? Because he'll be like, oh man, I'm so sick of this guy. I think I would love to meet the Dalai Lama.
I thought you would take my name.
We already met, so my first dream is done. No, in person, of course, yeah, maybe, yeah. But I think technically now this is as they call it, the new normal. So we know each other, and I think I'm going to take the liberty to say now I can call you a friend.
Absolutely, yes. Sandeep ji, one question we missed and it's very serious.
Mhm.
From last 5-6 years, if I may say, I'm not saying from the political reasons, but what I'm seeing is job is getting tougher and tougher for the comedian. Now everyone is getting offended. If you make
Yeah.
joke on Punjabi communities, they are being offended. If you crack jokes on nurses or doctors, they've been offended. If you crack jokes on political class, they feel offended. People are approaching to Supreme Court. Santa Banta joke should not be cracked. So disability community is also being offended. Why are you cracking jokes on us? Now the job is getting, people do not realize, if you will not crack joke anyone, how would you laugh? And from where they can bring their content? So what is your take on it? Is it the true scenario or I'm exaggerating?
It's absolutely true. I'll tell you why, for two reasons, right? One is people themselves have become less tolerant and more immature. They are not willing to laugh at themselves. Secondly, what happens is that the Punjabis themselves are great as an audience. I've done shows where people are like, bro, be careful, they might pull a gun on you. But I've done shows in Chandigarh, in Zirakpur, I've done shows in Gurgaon, I've done shows in Delhi, in South Delhi, and they've been some of the most amazing audience. In fact, when I did a show at South Delhi, I had four or five Jat boys sitting on the stage with me, and they were first just distracted, saying, hey, can you keep quiet? We want to talk, not listening. But after 30 minutes, they were laughing, and after that, they bought me a drink, and we got along really well. The point is, it's also as a comedian, if you get confrontational, people will get confrontation. So people are easily getting angry nowadays. People are getting offended on behalf of someone. So the doctor might not have a problem, but someone will say, but how can you make fun? They're frontline workers, they're soldiers. I'm like, I've performed for soldiers. I performed at the Air Force Base. They had a great time. They have certain rules that you have to show up on time. People are in uniform at the Bangalore Air Force High Command Base, and they had a great time. Now, the third problem is social media. Social media has given anyone with an account the misconception that your opinion matters. Now, without writing a single joke, they can come and say, your joke is crap, I'm offended. They have the right to hide behind a profile picture and think that they can comment on anything in the world, and they can. So now, if 30 to 30,000 of them go and say, I'm offended, someone with absolutely no talent or absolutely no authority or absolutely no right, I wouldn't say right like in that word, but with absolutely no reason, can go and bring down a person in their field, a commentator or an actor, just by going and saying anything on social media. So there's this idea of self-importance, that my thought, my opinion matters. It doesn't, especially in the arts. Or your opinion, your thought only matters if you're creating things, right? If you are an expert, that's when you have the right to criticize. If you don't like a movie, don't like it. Go home, don't watch it. Walk out of the theater, switch off your Amazon, Netflix, right? But now people think, oh, I'm going to watch it and critique the movie, saying Martin Scorsese should have done this better. Game of Thrones ending should have been better. Anurag Kashyap should write Secret Games better. Who are these people? Let them make a movie. If they're that good, let them make a movie. But because they have access to their smartphones, they can, while watching a movie, type and say, hey, but I think this acting was bad lighting. And like, who are these people? And yes, in the present climate with our politics, it is, and when people are thinking like this, when you can make people gullible and you can make them completely polarized, that's what the government is using. They're doing it to separate us, make people, feed them more content that will make them more upset. They're making that, and it's not just in India, it's across the world, where they're using social media to make people more separated, to make them more aggressive against each other, to make them separated into different groups. And it's a terrifying space, not just for a comedian, but for anyone who is a thinking human being, who's rational, tolerant, and who wants a better society for all of us. It's a terrible time.
So finally, what would be your message to the community or the society?
Oh, I think it would be three things, and this is something I'm trying to practice, is don't take life too seriously. Don't take anything too seriously, whether it's work or whether it's damage or loss. Don't take the highs too seriously. Don't take the lows too seriously. Don't take and don't take people too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. The second point is take care of your mental health, your physical health, and take care of the people around you who matter. And the last one is just have fun and live life.
Thank you so much, Sandeep ji. It was absolute pleasure. I enjoyed talking to you. I hope you enjoyed too. So
it was my absolute pleasure. Thank you for reaching out to me and giving me a chance on your show, and for taking the time and listening to me ramble on and on and on and on. And a big thank you to all your listeners for tuning in and lending me their ears and spending time with me on your show. Thank you, Danish.
it was lovely listening to you.